Hello, my beautiful friends and followers. This is Meher, your astrologer, bringing you the energy update for the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, occurring on 5th July at 12:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please convert it into the time zone that you're in currently. So a little bit about eclipses. Eclipses, as you know, we've been talking about them for a while. So they speed up time and help us reroute back onto our karmic path. So they do bring buried emotions and issues to the surface to be dealt with. So this is not the time to run away from these issues, but to really face them head on and accept the transitions that they bring. They're not going to bring up anything that was not in our karmic path. They just speed up what was already to come so that we are propelled further into our destiny. So they, in the end, are pretty helpful, but when we're going through them, they seem intense. Now, thankfully, this eclipse in Capricorn is the last of this summer's 3 eclipses. We had one of our most intense eclipses, the solar eclipse in Cancer a couple of weeks ago. If you missed that video, you can go ahead and see that because that was a very powerful eclipse. But now this one brings the end of that heaviness and propels us into a completely new 6-month energy season. Now, this is the last eclipse in the Cancer Capricorn eclipse axis, which started in July of 2018. So you want to look at what happened in 2018 that's kind of coming to fruition now, a couple of years back. The Cancer Capricorn eclipse axis talks about the opposition of Divine Mother and Divine Father, the Divine Masculine and Feminine, and nurturing and self-care and inner child healing versus rigidity and structures. So that is the theme. This lunar eclipse is a full moon, so it is, just like every full moon, a great time for release. So please do your release work, ceremoniously take in a piece of paper, write down everything that does not serve, including habits, belief systems, people, and situations. And then you can tear it down or burn it safely and see it wither, and intend that this energy be released from your life. This is a very powerful time to do this. Now, what is the main theme of this eclipse? It is building your right community. This full moon eclipse, you're going to find yourself wondering about your community. You may wonder about how productive or helpful you are to your community. And also, how kind are you to yourself in relation to your community or your family, which is your immediate community. And so it puts our attention towards self-care. You may be thinking about releasing some people or situations from your life who do not belong there, but you're also likely, you may have met some new folks over the past few months who almost feel like family. So you must understand that when you make space, the universe always brings you the right new people, more energetically aligned to where you are, because as we shift and grow energetically, we need people who are energetically aligned to us. Now, Capricorn is all about creating structures. It is ruled by the rigid sign of Saturn. So your home, your family, your community, and even our earth are all structures. And structures are defined by borders. So these borders you're now defining to figure out who you will let in or not into your life. So it's a good time to figure out the perfect work-life balance, which will bring you a great sense of relief. Capricorn, which this eclipse is in, is ruled by Saturn, so we're going to talk a little bit about Saturn. Now, Saturn brings results if you have been disciplined and dedicated, and if you have done your work. If you haven't done your work, Saturn can be pretty karmic and a strong disciplinarian, and it can also bring lessons. So it's just going to give you the result of your own doing. Saturn is also called Kronos, who is the keeper of time. So it teaches us about how to use our time well. Where are you putting in your time and energy? How are you going through your day? So these are the thoughts that will come up at this point in time, and that's where you release everything that does not serve your time. because time is life. Be responsible right now. Saturn really urges us to be responsible. This is not the time to be impulsive or reactive to whatever comes up, but really take accountability and responsibility, because you understand that this is your creation and you are only getting the return of what you created. So also Capricorn brings a sense of solitude. Now, solitude is great because you can use it to heal, and we always heal in stillness, not when we're distracted by a million things around us. So although you may feel this sense of loneliness a little bit more during the Capricornian energy, but it also is a beautiful time to go inward and do inner work and heal. And again, the energy of this eclipse is going to last more or less for the next 6 months. This eclipse is also on the 13th degree. So let's talk a little bit about the numerological energies of the number 13. 13 is a beautiful magical number of the divine feminine. I know that in a lot of cultures it does not have a good name, but it does have some beautiful significance. Now, the solar eclipse in Cancer brought in the beginning of the divine feminine as it went through the galactic cross and the galactic womb, and it was all about the energy of birthing, and now we are anchoring in that energy of the divine feminine and solidifying it. So that is the energy we will talk about for the next 6 months. So what is the energy of the feminine? So we have 13 lunar cycles in a year. The moon is very much a feminine energy. 13 weeks in a season, and seasons are all about death and rebirth. And the feminine energy, the number 13, is also very much linked to Venus and Venusian energy. So this brings, Venus is of course the planet of love, and it can bring about important lessons and attention to self-love, and also love with a significant other, love with family, and it always teaches us lessons around love, that in the end love is how we win it all. And also the number 13 is in the Fibonacci sequence, which is found everywhere in nature, the spiral within seashells, within snails. And the spiral is a sacred geometry that shows us about expanding outward. It's a continuous, never-ending evolution, unlike the linear energy of Capricorn that was all about the boxes. So we're moving out of the linear energy of the box because it is the full moon or the ending in Capricorn. We're moving into the energy of the new, renewed expansion, which is more feminine, more cyclical, and more expansive. Saturn and Pluto have been conjunct in Capricorn this year. This is the big theme of this year, so I need to talk about this, although it's not necessarily just about this eclipse, but it is the major theme of the year. So let me break this down. Saturn is the planet of structure, time, limitations, and responsibility. It's very solid and rigid, as you know by now. Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth. It brings and shakes things and brings destruction, but only for the purpose of rebuilding it. So it is the breakdown before the breakthrough. Now when these two slow-moving planets meet, and because they have long orbits they don't meet too often, what happens is the important structures in our lives are going to be torn down so they can be rebuilt. And this is happening both inside of us and within our communities and families and our structures, as well as at the macro level outside in the world, as you can see. It's a very high pressure energy. So how do you deal with that? You deal with it in a responsible, mature manner. You need to be willing to make the sacrifices and let go of what is crumbling away so that new growth can come, and so that you can have the new fresh energy come in. Because the universe brings newness when we release the old and make space. This conjunction of Saturn and Pluto is happening in the sign of Capricorn this year, which is the sign of structures. Structures that were slowly built over years of time. So we're likely to witness great structures crumbling down regardless of how strong their foundations are. in order to be rebuilt eventually. So be open to that. Welcome the change. Do not resist it. It is going to take over if you resist it. Okay. Now, there is some good news. We have some beautiful, helpful energy of Jupiter and Pluto conjunct in Capricorn. So Jupiter, the planet of luck and progress, and Pluto, the powerful planet that brings a big oomph to Jupiter, are also conjunct in Capricorn right now. So this brings powerful forward movement if you're willing to go through the change and push through. Rapid manifestations, so be very mindful of your thoughts. Whatever you're thinking is manifesting very quickly, moment to moment. Building of new foundations, because Capricorn is going to wobble and crumble the old foundations, but it also, Jupiter and Pluto also brings the energy to create brand new foundations. They also bring abundance, and abundance can be in the form of self-care, building the right community, and growth. Now, the Moon, Jupiter, and Saturn are aligning with the star Sirius and opening the Sirius portal. All Sirians out there, you're going to feel a very strong energy. For those of you who do not know what planet and star system they come from, you're welcome to learn about it. I talk about your planetary systems in my Akashic Record readings. So this is a wonderful time for removal of energetic blocks, removal of any obstacles, and for forward motion. And just remember this: we come from stardust and we go back to that. So expansion towards this multi-dimensional reality that is opening up for us. Keep going, keep following the movement of the spiral. There is no looking back, just moving forward and expanding. So how do we best use the energies of this current eclipse? Inner child healing was a big theme during the solar eclipse 2 weeks back. That began the inner child healing, and this eclipse solidifies it. So continue to nurture your inner child, because the full moon is very much opposite Mercury retrograde in the nurturing sign of Cancer, which again pushes us to think about our childhood and family dynamics. And if things come up, instead of letting them bottle up, set them free. Really look into it. Do not ignore your inner child if it is throwing tantrums. Please go ahead, look at it, nurture it, and talk to it. And if you need assistance, please reach out. We work with healing of the subconscious and the inner child, and I can walk you through it, but please nurture your inner child. This is a time for deep subconscious healing, because Chiron is forming a T-square to the sun and the moon, and it helps us let go of old beliefs which lead to liberation. So anything that was taboo to talk about, you can talk about it now, because Chiron is the wounded healer, and through experiencing the wound, it is able to heal. Now Uranus is still in Taurus, so the sign of Uranus kind of shakes up. It's a sign of sudden changes. It's in the Taurus, in our earth, our structures, and so it helps propel this healing and these shifts further. So things will shift suddenly. Freedom, flexibility, and integration is the energy that this eclipse brings. So it's happening on the 5th of July, and the number 5 brings strength and flexibility to deal with these shifts and make giant breakthroughs if you're open. And that brings a relief from this heavy eclipse season as it ends, only to propel us into a completely brand new timeline. So fear of judgment of any kind is dismantled as we speak up finally with strength, and then you make a breakthrough. So this allows to integrate the energies of the last 2 eclipses as we move forward in our freedom and claim it, and forward into the growth, into the divine feminine, into the spiral, going outward and completely assimilating, accepting, and energizing this energy of growth into the unknown, into the self-nurturing, into the divine feminine. Release all old needs to stick to old structures. This is the full moon, the ending of the Capricorn. The structures are going to come crumbling over outside as well as inside, but you do not need them anymore, because now you are going to go forward in that flexible spiral movement.